The grand ballroom sparkled like a dream, every inch soaked in wealth, elegance, and tradition. Massive chandeliers hung like crowns from the high ceilings, scattering golden light across the room. The floor beneath was polished marble, so shiny it mirrored every guest's steps. Velvet curtains draped the windows. Waiters in white gloves moved through the crowd with silver trays, offering glasses of champagne to the elite. This wasn't just any event. It was the Royal Chess Gala, an invitation-only evening hosted annually for the wealthiest and most powerful. But it wasn't about music or dance. It was about mind games. Chessboards lined the room, and in the center sat the biggest attraction of the night, a raised platform with a single board under a spotlight. That was Victor Hartmann's stage. Victor wasn't just the highlight. He was the show, a grandmaster with an undefeated record at the gala for 7 years straight. He had built his reputation on ruthless play and ruthless pride. He didn't just play to win, he played to humiliate. He wore his arrogance like a designer suit, perfectly tailored. "Victor doesn't just beat people," whispered one guest. "He breaks them." Tonight, he wore a sharp black tuxedo with a satin pocket square and an ego larger than the chandelier above. He swirled a glass of wine in his hand and then suddenly stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, loud enough to turn heads, "let's raise the stakes." People turned toward him, some smiling, others confused. "I've already beaten every serious contender here," Victor continued, "so let's make it interesting. Bring me anyone from the staff, anyone at all to challenge me." There was a pause. Awkward glances were exchanged. Waiters froze. Musicians stopped playing. Nobody moved. Victor smirked and raised his eyebrows. "What's the matter? Afraid a cleaner might beat me?" That got some chuckles. There she was, Ava. She was in her work uniform, a beige polo, a white apron, and jeans with a mop bucket next to her. She looked ordinary, quiet, focused, her sleeves rolled up and damp from cleaning. Her face glistened slightly from hours of physical work, and her dark curly hair was tied back into a bun. She didn't hear the laughter at first. She was too busy mopping a streak of wine near the wall. "That one," said Victor with a grin, raising his glass. "Yes, the janitor. Let's see if she can clean up my chessboard too." More laughter. Some guests looked uncomfortable, but most were entertained. The staff member approached Ava, clearing his throat. "Miss, would you, mind coming to the stage for a quick chess game?" Ava looked up puzzled. "Me?" He nodded. "Mr. Hartmann insists." She looked past him, saw Victor grinning like a school bully, and then glanced at the crowd. They were waiting, some curious, some clearly amused. She sighed. Not out of fear, but exhaustion. The same kind of sigh someone lets out when they're underestimated for the 1,000th time. She put the mop to the side, wiped her hands on her apron, and walked calmly toward the spotlight. Victor was already seated, dramatically twirling a black knight between his fingers. He gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Welcome. Don't worry, I'll go easy on you. Maybe I'll give you 5 moves before I checkmate you." Ava said nothing. She just sat down. The crowd leaned in. Victor smiled. The clock ticked. And then she made her first move. Ava leaned forward, her eyes scanning the board in complete silence. She wasn't intimidated. She wasn't distracted. She didn't even glance at the crowd. With calm precision, she picked up her pawn and pushed it forward. It was just one move, but the energy in the room shifted immediately. Victor's grin widened. "Ah, the classic pawn to e4. Nice and safe. Good choice for a beginner." His voice dripped with sarcasm as he made his response quickly. Too quickly. He wanted to humiliate her, not just beat her. But Ava didn't flinch. She moved again. confident, sharp. Victor raised an eyebrow. She moved a third time, then a fourth, and by the fifth, Victor stopped smiling. The crowd started murmuring. It was subtle at first, just whispers. But the whispers turned into surprised reactions. Guests leaned closer to the stage. Some even stood up from their seats to get a better view. One of the older gentlemen in the audience, himself a retired international master, squinted and leaned toward the board. "Wait a minute," he whispered. "She's not just playing random moves. She's setting something up." Victor leaned back in his chair, suddenly more alert. His smirk was gone. The lightness in his tone faded. "All right," he said, trying to mask the pressure. "You caught me off guard, but that's enough games." He moved his queen in an aggressive advance, classic Hartmann style, a move meant to overwhelm and dominate. Ava answered with a sacrifice. She gave up a knight and smiled. Victor blinked. That was unexpected. He took the knight, assuming it was a mistake. But 3 moves later, he realized it was a trap. His queen was in danger. He moved to protect it, but now his bishop was trapped. In trying to escape one danger, he walked into another. The murmurs in the room turned into low gasps. "Is that the Scandinavian defense reversed?" "No," another said. "She's manipulating him into creating weaknesses. This is intentional." Victor's face turned pale. He adjusted his tie and stared at the board like he had never seen it before. "You know how to play?" he asked her, his voice cracking for the first time. Ava still hadn't spoken a single word. She just made another move, and another, and another. Every time Victor tried to gain control, Ava turned it against him. His pieces were shrinking, boxed in. He looked down at the board like it was betraying him. His beloved strategy, the aggressive dominance, was falling apart. He sat back in his chair. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his next piece. He looked across the table, studying the woman he had just mocked minutes ago. She wasn't even sweating. She wasn't even trying hard. That's when it hit him. This woman wasn't just playing chess. She was teaching him a lesson. The crowd, once amused, was now dead silent. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The arrogant champion was being cornered, publicly, and by a janitor no one had noticed before tonight. Ava calmly repositioned her rook. Victor looked down and saw what was coming next. His king was exposed. The room had gone cold. Victor Hartmann had never looked so unsure. The man who once boasted about beating champions in under 10 moves was now taking over a minute to make each decision. His fingers hovered uncertainly over the board, twitching slightly before pulling back. Every piece he moved was instantly punished. Ava, still silent, still composed. Her face showed no arrogance, no fear, just deep focus and absolute clarity. It wasn't just that she was playing well, it was the way she played. Graceful, methodical, ruthless. Guests who were once laughing now leaned forward with wide eyes. Phones started recording. Even the orchestra at the back had gone completely quiet. No music, no movement, just the sound of ticking from the chess clock and Victor's increasingly shaky breathing. "She's reading him like a book," someone whispered. Victor wiped sweat from his brow. His queen had been pushed to the edge of the board. His bishop blocked in. His rook cornered and useless. Every piece he relied on was slowly being smothered. "This isn't chess," he mumbled, mostly to himself. "This is sabotage." He tried to bait Ava with a trap, a move that had worked countless times before. He sacrificed his rook to open a diagonal path, hoping she would take the bait. She didn't. Instead, Ava ignored it entirely, moved her knight into a central square, and shut down the entire play. Victor leaned back. Impossible. The retired grandmaster in the audience stood up. She's not just playing a clean game, she's dismantling his entire strategy. Every piece he moves creates two more weaknesses. Another professional in the audience muttered, "She's 6, maybe 7 moves ahead. She's seeing everything." Victor moved his king again. Defensive, hesitant, and then it happened. Ava placed her bishop right into the heart of his defense. Check. The word finally broke the silence like a glass shattering. Victor flinched. He moved to block, and she instantly repositioned her queen. Check again. The crowd gasped. One move left. Victor leaned forward, eyes wide, and realized his king had no escape, no pawns, no backup, no defense. Ava reached out, and with complete composure, without smiling, bragging, or hesitating, placed her rook across the board. Checkmate. Silence. Not a single clap. Not a single whisper. Just stunned, aping faces, and one crushed grandmaster, staring down at the very board he used to dominate. Victor didn't speak. Couldn't. He just stared at the board. The moment Ava stood up, it was like the spell broke. The ballroom, frozen in silence just seconds earlier, suddenly came alive with noise. Cameras flashed. Guests gasped. People who had laughed at her were now pushing forward, trying to get a better look. Victor Hartmann still sat at the table, stunned, motionless, eyes locked on the board where his kingdom had crumbled. His ego, so proudly displayed all night, was nowhere to be seen. She beat him. No, she destroyed him. Who is she? A well-dressed woman rushed forward, blocking Ava's path. Wait, please, just one question. Where did you learn to play like that? Ava paused. She looked at the woman, then around at the room full of rich faces. Most of them hadn't noticed her before. Most hadn't even looked at her when she was cleaning the same floor they now stood frozen on. She cleared her throat and spoke for the first time that evening. Her voice was soft but steady. My father taught me. That got everyone's attention. He used to be a national-level chess player back in the day, she continued. But when he got sick, I had to give up school, dreams, everything. Took up cleaning jobs to pay the bills. But I never stopped playing. Victor slowly turned toward her, eyes wide. Who was your father? Ava glanced at him with the calm of someone who didn't need validation. David Mensa. A wave of realization swept through the older players in the room. Wait, David Mensa? The Nigerian master who beat 3 Soviet grandmasters in a single match back in the 80s? Yes, Ava nodded. But after the Federation ignored him, he faded into the background. He taught me everything before he passed. The retired international master stepped forward, almost trembling. I played against your father once. He was brilliant. I never knew he had a daughter. A hush fell again. But this time, it wasn't awkward. It was respectful. A man in a sharp blue suit suddenly approached her, extending a business card. I'm with the World Chess Federation. We'd be honored to sponsor you. Travel, coaching, tournaments, everything. Another woman joined in. We'd love to feature you in our next Grand Invitational. You belong on the world stage. Offers came flooding in. Ava didn't flinch. She wasn't hungry for fame, money, or revenge. She looked at them all and simply said, I never wanted recognition. I just wanted to play. Victor slowly rose from his chair. For once, there was no arrogance, no sarcasm. He extended his hand. You didn't just beat me, he said. You humbled me, and I deserved it. Ava looked at his hand for a moment, then shook it. A roar of applause erupted from the crowd. Some clapped out of respect. Others clapped because they had just witnessed something rare, the fall of a giant, and the quiet rise of someone no one saw coming. And in that moment, Ava wasn't just the janitor anymore. She was a queen, and the entire room knew it. Victor slowly rose from his chair. For once, there was no arrogance, no sarcasm. He extended his hand. "You didn't just beat me," he said. "You humbled me, and I deserved it." Ava looked at his hand for a moment, then shook it. A roar of applause erupted from the crowd. Some clapped out of respect. Others clapped because they had just witnessed something rare, the fall of a giant and the quiet rise of someone no one saw coming. And in that moment, Ava wasn't just the janitor anymore. She was a queen, and the entire room knew it.